I just wanted to share my experience with this in case anyone else is considering it. I have been using it in my place for regular cleanups, mostly on hardwood with a couple of rugs, and I also tried it in a room with thicker carpet. If you want something that can handle everyday dust and crumbs without you thinking about it much, and you like the idea of a dock that empties the vacuum for you, this one fits that kind of home. What makes it different for me is not that it vacuums, because most robot vacuums do. It is the combination of how it maps and how the self-emptying base changes the routine. I do not love emptying tiny dust bins every day, and that is usually the part that makes me stop using robot vacuums after the first couple weeks. With this one, I let it run, and I do not touch the bin nearly as often, because it goes back to the base and dumps everything on its own. That is the part that actually changes my day-to-day more than any other feature. In person, it looks simple and practical. The dock is not small, but it feels stable and it does not look flimsy. The robot itself feels solid when I pick it up. Underneath, the brush setup is the kind that tries to work across multiple floor types. On hardwood, I noticed it picks up fine dust better than my older robot that mostly just pushed it around. On rugs, it does a decent job pulling up lint and hair, but you still have to keep an eye on the brush if you have long hair in the house, because hair can wrap around almost any roller over time. The top is straightforward, with the basic controls you would actually use if your phone is not nearby. I like that, because sometimes I just want to tap it and let it clean without opening an app. It also has the usual bumper around the front, and in my place it bumps gently. It is not silent about it. You can hear the tap, but it is not ramming furniture. It tends to slow down as it approaches objects, then it adjusts and keeps moving. Setup was normal for this category. I plugged in the dock, put the robot on it, and connected it to my home wireless network through the app. The app walks you through it, and it took me a few minutes. The only part that ever slows me down with these is making sure the wireless network is the right one and the phone permissions are allowed. Once it was connected, it wanted to start a mapping run. I let it do that before I asked it to do real cleaning, and I am glad I did, because it made the cleaning runs more predictable. Daily use is mostly hands-off. I can press clean and it goes. When it finishes, it returns to the dock, empties the bin into the base, and charges. That emptying step is loud for a short moment. It is not something I would want happening late at night next to a bedroom. In the daytime it is fine, and it only lasts a brief time, but you will notice it. In real use, I tested it the way I think most people live. I did not pre-clean the floor. I left a few chair legs, a couple cables near a desk, and the usual little mess that shows up near the kitchen. On hardwood, it handled crumbs and dust without trouble. Along the edges, it does a decent job, although I still see a little line of dust in some corners where a robot cannot quite reach. That is normal. Under chairs, it sometimes took a second pass from a different angle, but it eventually got most of it. On rugs, it climbed on and off without getting stuck. On a thicker rug, it still managed, but I did notice it moved a little slower and it sounded like it was working harder. It picked up surface debris well. For deep carpet cleaning, I still rely on a full-size vacuum, because a robot vacuum is more about keeping things under control between deeper cleans. For pet hair, it kept up on my test rug, but I did have to remove hair from the brush after a few runs. That is not a deal breaker. It is just part of owning any vacuum that deals with hair. Navigation got better after it had time to learn. Early on, it wandered a bit more and did some back and forth in open areas. After a few runs, it seemed more confident, and it cleaned in a pattern that made more sense. It still occasionally hesitated around table legs and tight chair clusters, and it might nudge the same spot twice while it figures out the best path. But it did not get stuck often in my place. When it did get stuck, it was usually because of something I left out, like a cable loop or a thin item that a robot can ride up on. The smart features are useful when they save time, not when they feel like a science project. The app is where I do most of the control. I can start or stop a cleaning, send it back to the dock, and check where it is in the house. The map is the main reason I keep the app installed. Once the map was created, I could tell it to avoid certain areas. That mattered for me because I have one spot with a lot of cables and one corner where the rug tassels are easy for a robot to mess up. Setting those areas as no-go zones reduced the little rescues I had to do. Scheduling is also practical. I set it for a time when I am usually out or busy in another room. It is not completely quiet, so I do not personally want it running while I am on a call. But if you schedule it for a time that fits your routine, it does the job in the background. Voice control is there, and it works when you want a quick start without reaching for your phone. I do not use voice control every day, but it is nice when my hands are full. I would not buy it only for that, but it is a convenient option. A couple limitations are worth saying out loud. The self-emptying bass is convenient, but the sound is abrupt, and you will notice it. The robot is also not magic around cords and small clutter. If your floors are messy, you still need to do a quick pickup. And like most robots, it will not fully replace a normal vacuum if you have a lot of carpet or you want deep cleaning. It is more of a maintenance cleaner that keeps the daily dust and hair from building up. Overall, I have had a good experience with it because it fits how I actually live. I run it regularly, it keeps the floors under control, and the self-emptying setup means I do not have to think about it every day. I still do an occasional manual vacuum, and I still clean corners myself sometimes, but this takes care of the constant little mess that adds up during the week. I will post full information about the Shark AI Ultra Voice Control Robot Vacuum in the comments section. See you in the following videos.